Hello Elucidat authors, welcome to this Level 2 video where I'm going to talk you through how to set up a menu page for your project and talk a bit about why you might want to do that. All Elucidat projects come with the option of having a slide out menu which will list all of the pages of the project, and that's really useful and we will talk a bit about it here, but our main focus will be how to set up a menu page using the page types within Elucidat. So to show you what that could look like, let's have a look at some examples. The first three examples here at the top and on the bottom left use the image grid page type. So you can see with just one page type you can create some quite different effects, and that all depends on how you lay out your menu items and use your text and images and whether you decide to have any text overlays. The two examples on the right use the image explorer page type, and again you can see you can make them look quite different depending on the images and the variations that you choose. So let's jump into the tool and take a look at how we create these. Here I am in an existing project. You can see that I've got 5 pages split across 2 chapters. So let's jump into the content and see what that looks like in practice. To navigate between my 5 pages, the learners would use the buttons at the bottom and they would go from page to page and through the chapters that way. If you're not sure what the learner journey is going to be through your content, or you want to see what that would look like visually, then you can use the branching view feature up here, which I find really useful. This view shows you the structure of the project. The line shows the learner journey, and so you can see in this case it's very linear. Learners will start on the first page of the first chapter and move through sequentially. You can see the first 2 pages here are in chapter 1 and they move on seamlessly to the 3 pages of chapter 2. And that's great and it works very well for short courses. So let's switch to preview mode and I'll show you another really useful feature relating to chapters. As a learner, as well as using the navigation buttons down here, I can use the slide out menu accessed by this button. And this menu shows me all of the sections of the project. So you can see I've got Introduction to Theory, which is the first page of my first chapter, and then the second page of my chapter here. This is the first page of my second chapter, and you'll see that it's not listing all of those pages, and that's because in a bigger project it would be a very long list if we showed all of the pages of all of the chapters. And so the slide out menu lists all of the first pages of the chapters and shows you the pages of the chapter that you're in. So it can be really useful to give your first page of a chapter a title that really sums up what's in that chapter, and that will help learners jump around through the content. So for example, I could jump straight into practice here and it would take me there without having to navigate it through. And that's really useful, and for small projects that's all you may need. But for bigger projects, or for projects where you want the learner to have a lot of autonomy about how they're going to navigate through the content, then it's a really great idea to set up a menu page. And now let's go through to the Pages menu and I can show you how to do that. So in this section, as before, you can see the structure of the course. To create a menu, I'm going to create a new page down here in a new chapter. And I could leave it here, and if I set up the functionality, everything would work fine. But I like to have the layout of my pages area match the flow of my content. So I'm going to move this chapter and put it right at the top because it'll be the first thing that the learner sees. So now I've got a new chapter 1 which has got my menu page in it. And the first thing that I want to do is set the page type for that. So I'm going to choose from one of the menu page types that Elucidat has, and as you can see there are quite a few with different options. It's a really good idea to familiarise yourself with what these options are so you can choose the best one for your project. I'm going to use the image grid for this, I think, and then again I just select set page type. I can then go in and edit that page. As with all the other page types, I can use the editing features to change the text and the images, and so I'm not going to show that here because that's covered in another video. What I do want to show you are the features specific to the menu page types. This page type, as you can see, has come with 3 menu items as default. You might remember I've only got 2 chapters in my project, so I only need 2 of these menu items. Very easily I can delete one of them, and I am sure. I could also add more in if I wanted to. You'll see that there's now a bit of a hole where I've deleted that, and there are a couple of different things I could do to change that if indeed I wanted to. Firstly, I could use the editing tools up here to change the size, but that would be doing it very manually. There's a much neater way of doing it, and that's using the variations tool here. And this allows me to choose how many items I want per row. So I've only got 2 items, so I want to select that to 2. And you'll see it's automatically sized them for me, so I don't need to worry about that. There are also a couple of other items in this menu, and you can see that I could have a different number of items per row on a tablet or on a mobile phone, and it's automatically set that to 1 on a mobile, which is really useful, and it avoids having a very cluttered menu screen for a mobile. So I'm going to check that and say my layout's set. The next thing I want to do is add the links themselves, so when a learner clicks on a menu item, it will take me to the relevant content. And to do that again, I just select on the editing menu and this time choose link. So I want to choose a page in this project, and that gives me a drop-down list of all the pages. You can see here that the first page of each chapter is offset to make it easy to choose. So I'm going to choose my first page of my theory module and check that. I'm also going to give that menu item a name. There we go. And I can do the same for the right hand menu item. So again, clicking link, clicking a page in this project and choosing which page I want that to be. And I'll just set that there. Just going to give this one a title. Now I want to save all of that. That's been saved, great. And let's jump back into preview to see what that looks like. So here you can see the menu as a learner would see it. You can use the device view to change the device that you're previewing that on, which can be really useful to make sure that your menu looks good on all devices. So for example, if I scroll down here, you can see that when I get to a smaller screen, the sort of screen that a mobile would have, it drops down to just 1 item on a row rather than 2. Makes it look a lot nicer. So let's take that up to a bigger size so we can see it and take a look at how we'd go about navigating the content. So I'm going to jump into the first section, and you'll see that's taken me to the first page of this chapter. If I then wanted to go back to my menu, I could use the slide out menu here. So now back on the menu, you'll see that this progress bar has appeared underneath the first menu item. That wasn't there before, and it indicates that as a learner I've started this topic. You'll see that section 2 doesn't have that yet, and that's because as a learner I've not been into this topic. So if I jump into that now and then just quickly skip through the pages, I can go back to the menu page and you'll see that that bar is now complete and I've got a small tick here. This is really useful, particularly for bigger projects, because it allows learners to see what content they have looked at, what they haven't looked at, and where they need to go next on their journey. So that's how a learner would see it. And again, I'm going to go up to the branching view to show you what that looks like behind the scenes. So now you can see that rather than having a linear flow, the content flow divides. So we've got the menu at the top, and you can go through chapter 1, back to the menu and through chapter 2. So this view can be really useful to help you understand how your content all links together, particularly, as I say, when you get more content within your project and have more and more chapters. If you do at any time want to add more chapters to your project, then you can simply do that here, adding another chapter down here within the pages area, and then don't forget, of course, to go back into the menu and update that accordingly. So to close, I've got 3 top tips for you. Firstly, in linear modules, use the chapters to break up your learning content into meaningful topics. This will be really useful and help learners access the content in a sensible way using that slide out menu we looked at. Secondly, use a menu page to give the learner more control, and use the variations setting to control how the layout of your menu looks. Finally, don't forget that you can view the project structure diagram to check how your branching works and see what the flow through your learning will be. So, thanks for watching. Now you can move on to the next topic.